In the table, everyone, of course, trying to catch the Dutch, who've only dropped 2 points so far in this qualifying campaign. As a welcome in, Julien Laurent is with us. Jules, the Dutch a real deal?
I think it's a little bit early. We saw them having a very good Nations League under Ronald Koeman, as you know, my friend, Dutch guy. And I think the talent is there. It's always been there. The problem has never been the talent because they've had generations after generation of talent. It's more when it comes to the big tournament, as we saw in the last Euros, for example, to make it happen, to be solid defensively, to be efficient going forward. Is Memphis Depay the answer as a number 9 or a false 9? How do you play with the 3 at the back, with the 4-3-3, which is the legendary system really in Dutch football? And I'm not sure Koeman has sorted everything out. However, they are very good. They are very talented. We see the 4-2-3-1 of today, which is also because of the opposition. I think 4-3-3 is probably still what Koeman would choose to do, but they've got plenty of options. Even when you see that Reinders was not starting tonight, that Xavi Simons was not starting tonight, they've got so much talent and potential, and yet I'm still not sure all the pieces of that jigsaw fits always, especially in big games.
Not bad though, is it?
On paper, yeah, it's talented, but I think we're probably all in the same boat. You know, we know they're good. We know they can perform the way they did against the likes of Finland, but when it really gets to the nitty-gritty, do we think they're going to take that step and win something? The answer's got to be no.
Well,
would you like to add to this?
No, I mean, they're a good side, but I think when you get up against the likes of France in the big tournaments...
Yeah, well, they pushed Argentina, didn't they, all the way, of course, that feisty game in the end in the World Cup.
They did. That was the one where Messi got up.
I know, I'm just saying, but they went to penalties, didn't they?
Aye, but that's the kind of thing we expect to happen with the Dutch now.
Okay.
A little bit like your mob England. We know they're going to get far. We just don't think they're going to win it.
Okay.
And the Dutch just fall right into that category.
Let's talk about your mob then, shall we? Scotland.
Oh, no.
Scotland then with a 2-1 victory. Then in Denmark, of course, very much the favourites to advance.
Well, I think they have to play Greece. There's 2 games left. They have to play Greece, I believe, and Denmark.
Okay.
Denmark are the best team in the group by a stretch. And then, you know, Scotland are up there, but they got completely outplayed by Greece in the previous game. So they're going to be in the playoffs at worst. But it was just the general feeling around Hampden. I only saw the second half, and I'm glad I only saw the second half because even Belarus, who, as you can see, have no points, caused Scotland all sorts of problems. They had a goal chopped off by VAR, going back to a free kick that was, 50-50. It just wasn't a good performance. And look, Steve Clarke, and Stevie mentioned this the other day, since he's gone in there, he's got the results to get them to major tournaments. But at the moment, and this is just the feeling I think from the bulk of the Scottish fan base and journalists, is that the performances, as a general rule of thumb, not just the qualifiers but across all the games, have just been so dull. And then you're now balancing up, what do you want? Just results and getting there, or do you want performance as well? Because when you're getting outplayed by Spain and even Denmark and Greece and some of the better teams, although Greece are not one of the better teams, that's one thing. But to be outplayed at home in a qualifier by Belarus, as they were at times, and it was so flat. The McTominay thing, I think, summed it up.
Yeah, why didn't he celebrate?
I mean...
Why? Well, because...
You score a qualifier, you score in a World Cup qualifier.
Yeah.
Well, because they were booing.
Right.
I mean, every time somebody made a mistake, you heard the groans and the moans and the boos. And I understand that it would be nice to play well, regardless of who the opposition is, and win comfortably. But at the end of the day, it's about winning and qualifying. And by the end of this game, Belarus scored in injury time. There was thousands had gone home. I mean, seriously, does Scotland think they're supposed to be Brazil? And I understand that you want to see some entertainment, but at the end of the day, it's about winning and qualifying. And the crowd don't help. It's one thing, yes, the team playing well and giving the crowd some excitement to get them going, yes, you want to do that. But sometimes the crowd needs to get the team going.
Right.
And booing and moaning and... I mean, just, come on, give yourself a shake. All you want to do is qualify.
I mean, maybe at times you could see your team play a bit better. You look at some of the players out there, some of them are all right, others are they're not the best. Let's be honest, it is far, far from even in the top 10 strongest ever Scotland squads. And sometimes you just want to play a little bit of football, and maybe there's a sort of feeling going around the game at the moment that everybody has to play in a certain way and everybody can play in a certain way. That's not the case. And what gets me with some of these supporters, and we both played under a bulk of them, although most of them will be a lot younger fans these days, is that they moaned and groaned for the best part of 20 years that it wasn't about performance, it was about results. Because since '98, when I played, they hadn't been to a major tournament until they went to the Euros a couple of years ago or whatever it was, that Steve Clarke delivered for them. And they whinged and they moaned and they groaned and they cried about, we just want to be at a major tournament. Well, he got them there and now they just want more. They want their pie and they want it bigger and they want it tasting better. And sometimes you have to be careful what you're wishing for. Stevie Clarke's going to leave at the end of his contract, as Stevie said the other day. They've got a chance of going to another major tournament, but they have to remember sometimes, and I know you always want better, but you have to remember sometimes. For 20 years, all these countries went off and played in these glorious big tournaments, and the Scottish fans and the Scottish players sat in the backside.
Yeah.
But now they've been to one or two, whatever, I can't even remember how many Euros they've been to. It's 2 European Championships, I think, is that they want it with style now. And I'm not sure Scotland have the players to play with the kind of style they want and get the result.
In case you missed out, it was a 0-0 draw between Croatia and Gibraltar. How the heck did that happen? Oh, apparently it wasn't a 0-0 draw. I hope the Emmy people are watching this. All that's wrong. Ignore all of that. Meanwhile, in the other group, we also saw Austria in action against Romania. Austria with a win there. And Cyprus who beat San Marino by 4-0. Now, it has been a disaster, of course, this show, and also qualifying so far when it comes to getting people interested. This is what Zepherin's had to say.
Croatia won 3-0.
Thank you very much, Craig Burley.
I mean, it's close.
Perhaps the qualifiers could be different. There won't be any more matches, but a more interesting format. We're thinking about this right now. Jules, I was thinking about this in the shower before this show. Should have stayed there, really. But I don't know how you fix this.
No, that's a great question. Because inevitably they always want the big countries to be at the Euros or at the World Cup, right? So you can't do some sort of qualifiers that are similar to the Nations League, which we like because we see, France against England or Germany against Italy or Spain against Portugal, etc., etc. You can't do that because you want them all at the World Cup or all at the Euros. So they will still have at some point to face smaller teams. So do you do maybe a league phase? And the top 8 or the top 10 of that league phase qualified, you do some playoffs, so you still have big teams against each other, but sometimes they will also have to face smaller teams and batter them and being very uninteresting. I don't know how you do it really, because by definition, everybody have to compete, right? It's not like the Nations League. So I think it's very difficult. And we know that from next season, they changed the international break. So instead of having the one in September, October, November, they're going to mix it all in one kind of a longer one. So at least this is a little bit better. But I don't know how you make those qualifiers for the World Cup a bit more interesting, really.
Why did you hit the table?
Well, the Gibraltar scorelines upset me.
You thought they got their
Thought they got a point.
I mean,
you were Danny Higginbottom in Gibraltar.
What, you realised that? I don't know. I don't know where you go with this.
It's not easy. It doesn't seem like a quick
It's not.
fix. You're kind of stuck with it.
It's not, because there is qualification. You have to have qualification, so you have to have the matches. You have to have groups.
Everyone has to have a chance.
Yeah, it goes against the grain to have it in a certain way where eventually some of the bigger countries just could get knocked out, because let's be honest, we're already saturating these big tournaments with teams that are not going to compete just to try and appease and filter money down to some other countries and all that sort of stuff. And so FIFA can make more money. So I don't think there really is an easy answer. I suppose, as Jill said, condensing it all in sort of one period where we can all take a holiday.
Well, exactly.
And it's very and it's very crystal clear when those dates are. That's a good thing. I don't see how I don't think it's an easy answer into how do you make these more exciting, because at the end of the day, the qualifiers are not about being exciting, they're about qualification.
Yes.
And you have to have a due process to have that done.
Unless you're Scottish.
Is this just us being elitist? You know, everyone's got to have a chance?
No.
If it's not entertaining us, then tough. It's not about that.
I mean, there's nothing you can't change it.
I don't think it's us. I think there's a lack of interest across the board, and I think the fact Seferin's making these statements is an admittance that international football, out with the actual major tournaments itself, is becoming difficult.
Yeah, nobody's interested.
There is a lack of interest because the focus has moved a lot to sort of club football, with the money that's gone in there, with the sort of humdrum that it draws, and all the razzmatazz. Everybody now just wants to talk about, you know, the Premier League, La Liga, the Champions League, all this sort of stuff, and international football. Until it gets to the big tournaments, where it is to the fore, is just taking a huge backward step. And it's hard to put that right.
The positive side is they have made that change about condensing more games, getting rid of one window. I think that's great. Because apparently they're suggesting that it gives domestic football an extra week, which means teams get a break.
There you go.
So
lovely.
That's the positive side of it.
Always the positive, Stephen Nicol.
Yes, you're right.
Group I and qualify for the World Cup. Jules, you watched this for us, of course. Ghana have offered up a lot of excitement in World Cups in the past. Will we see that again next year?
They maybe not have a generation as good as the one that they used to, obviously, in the past, the one that reached the the quarterfinals of the World Cup, for example. But they've missed out on the last World Cup, so it's good for them to be back. Of course, the powerhouse of African football. They've got Mohamed Kudus, as we saw, in great form, who's very much leading this team. You've got Kudus on one side, Semenyo, who we mentioned earlier in our top 10 of most informed player. This is the lineup for today. This is good defensively. They've been solid in those qualifiers. I expect them to be good at the AFCON in December and January, and then we will see probably then how far they can go at the World Cup. It's still Jordan Ayew up front, and to be fair, you know, he's had a good career and he's a good player, but this is not as good as Semenyo and Kudus, for example, or even Thomas Partey, Salisu or Djiku as centre back. So they are clearly positions where they are a little bit weaker, but collectively they will be very strong, I think, at the World Cup.
Let's confirm then all the teams that have qualified so far for the World Cup. Of course, less than 12 months away in the US, Canada and Mexico. Ghana have definitely qualified. They come in along with US, Mexico and Canada. This is